Slam Dunk is a 1993 production by Toei Animation, of course, about basketball. I was pretty excited to check this one out after it had been recommended to me so many times over on Instagram, down in the YouTube comments. I've been hearing about it for a while now. For a little bit of context, I haven't watched a ton of sports anime, but just after watching the first few episodes, it's definitely more lighthearted and comedic than I had originally thought. But thinking back to other shows that I've watched, there's some real potential for these characters to grow and to be able to see them not only in their daily life, but see how they grow through their sport and through competition. But I don't want to ramble too much. Go ahead, sit back and enjoy the introduction to Slam Dunk. Our story starts off with my man's Sakuragi. Now, it's his last year in middle school. It's the last day of his last year of middle school, and we don't even get a view of him. We get to see this girl rejecting him. He had just asked this girl out, and she turns him down, saying that she already likes somebody else, this dude named Oda, on the basketball team. He's heartbroken, just getting shot down by this girl that he liked, but all of his friends is going crazy. This is his 50th time getting rejected in middle school. They're celebrating the Big 5-0, this major accomplishment of some sort. They're just going crazy, but we could tell this isn't a new occurrence for my mans. But even though this seems to happen like every other week, he's still heartbroken about it. We end up doing a little time skip all the way past summer vacation and to the first year of high school, and he's still going through it. All of his boys is looking at him like, damn, I thought he was gonna be over it by now. I can't believe he's still stuck on this. He's just there, sitting at the edge of the classroom, reminiscing on getting turned in, when one of his boys pops up out the side like, man, ain't a big deal, bro. It happened to the best of us. She don't even know what she talking about, bro. Ain't nothing cool about the basketball team anyways. But my man Sakuragi, just hearing the word basketball, grabs this man by his face and headbutts him right in the forehead. Now, this is his signature move. Even back then when they was all celebrating his 50 rejections, he hit each and every one of them with his signature headbutt. I ain't never seen nothing like this, but this is his signature style, his favorite animation. You talk crazy around Sakuragi, he gonna headbutt you. But apparently, around him, the word basketball is completely off limits. He don't want to hear nothing about no basketball. He don't want to hear nothing about Oda, the dude that girl liked, and he don't even want to hear nothing about that girl. He just want to sit there and I don't even know what he was thinking about her anyways, but he not trying to hear none of that. We get to even hear that around the classroom, people are just having their regular, normal conversations, and if Sakuragi hears anything that even sounds like basketball, he's hitting them with a headbutt. After a few minutes of just spamming these headbutts, he ends up leaving the classroom, just thinking, what's so good about basketball anyway? He's just sitting there, gazing out the window, when he hears a voice from behind him asking him if he likes basketball. Instantly hearing the word basketball, of course he's upset. He's about to spam his signature move, but as he turns around, he sees this girl. Instantly, all the rage in his heart just disappears. This girl is exactly his type. She's just looking at him, shocked at how tall he is. She's wondering if he's taller than this person who we haven't met yet, Rukawa. She's looking at his muscles on his arms, on his legs, realizing that he's got to be pretty athletic. But through this entire time, he's completely flustered. He's already moved on from that past girl, as this new one in front of him is just the one for him. She ends up introducing herself as Haruko. Throughout this whole time, Sakuragi was too flustered to even get a word out, so she asks her question once again if he likes basketball. But this time, he says he loves it. After all, he's a Class A athlete. This man is completely lying. Obviously, he just switched up, did a whole 180 from hating basketball, never wanting to hear it, to loving basketball and being a Class A athlete. My mans don't know a thing about basketball, and he's for sure not a Class A athlete. He don't play no type of sports. But all of his friends who was watching from the side are glad that he's finally back to his regular self. He's been reborn into this new man with this newfound determination to become an athlete. More specifically, to become a basketball player. He starts doing all type of workouts in the middle of the hallway, by the way. He's doing push-ups, lifting weights, doing these little frog jumps. I don't even know. But he ends up doing this sprint, which is, solid cardio, right? But he does this sprint all the way across the school and ends up in the third year wing. We get to see these two upperclassmen talking about the new class of freshmen that just came in. Turns out these two are your typical little high school bullies when all of a sudden Sakuragi runs past him. He stops his running to do some sit-ups on the ground, and at this point all of his friends is giving up on trying to get him to stop. He's going crazy off this notion that he got from Haruko that athletic guys are cool, so he's trying to, be athletic as possible, do as much as he can. That's all that's going on within his brain. The two upperclassmen walk up to him, asking him if he's a first year, and if so, they want to know his name. He gets up off the floor and introduces himself as Sakuragi, the athlete, saying that it's nice to meet them, but instantly they need this man straight in the gut. For no reason at all, they just attacked bro, as he's just sitting here reeling in pain, but they tell him to meet them up on the roof after class, and if he doesn't show up, it's gonna be a problem. They start walking off, smiling at each other, swearing they cool. I don't even know what they plan to gain from doing this, but before they even get a chance to walk off, Sakuragi stands up. He instantly grabs one of them by their shirt, lifting dude off the ground, asking him what his problem is. Turns out he wasn't on the ground reeling from pain, he just got the wind knocked out of him, and now he's mad about it. Other dude out the side is putting his fist up, asking if they got a problem. Obviously they do. They're the ones that started it, but Sakuragi's not paying him no mind. He just lifts dude even higher up in the air as his friend is trying to get him to stop. He's kicking him, attacking him, trying to do all type of stuff, but Sakuragi is standing solid. He's not letting go of this dude, and he's starting to struggle breathing for air as his mans is trying to call out for help. A crowd is beginning to form as people can obviously tell something is going down when all of a sudden Haruko walks up. She just calls out his name and waves, and the second he hears her voice, he drops onto the ground, completely forgetting about them with all his attention on Haruko. They chopping it up a little bit. She's asking him what he's doing here, and he's like, oh, ain't nothing, I'm just, visiting a friend. Turns out Haruko's here in order to give her big brother some lunch, but she's nervous being up on the third year wing. Sakuragi, lying out his ass, is like, yeah, me too. I'm not used to being up here. But dudes at the side know damn well he's lying. He was over here doing his own thing, doing sit-ups in the middle of the hallway, beating up third years themselves, but he just trying to be relatable, go with whatever Haruko say. But then he realizes what she just said. She's here to bring some food to her big brother, and in Sakuragi's mind, he's already locked in Haruko as the one, so he wants to go and make a formal introduction to her big brother so that he can make a, positive, lasting impression for their relationship moving forward. But Haruko's stopping him. She's getting embarrassed just at the thought of it, so they both end up making their way back to the first year wing with the rest of their classmates. The two dudes who just got whooped on are sitting there like, man, at least we made it out alive. But out of nowhere, this big dude pull up, the head of their little bully high school thug clique, Nori. He just gives them this disgusted look and hits both of them with a clean right. I don't know how he hit both of them with the same punch or if he hit two different punches. Either way, he knocks them down to the ground, embarrassed that they let themselves get pushed around by some little first year. But recalling his name, Sakuragi, he says that he's surprised he's finally come here. But to Nori, Sakuragi is always going to be a middle schooler. We don't get too much detail about Nori and Sakuragi's backstory. I don't know if they went to the same middle school, if they grew up in the same neighborhood, who knows. But we just fast forward to the basketball court. Haruko's taking him here and is giving a little bit of her backstory. Back in middle school, she used to play on the basketball team, and just hearing this, Sakuragi's mad impressed. But as soon as we see her dribbling, we can just tell she ain't had no type of badges, bro. She's looking down at the ball, dribbling, one hand in the air, other hand flat palmed, dribbling the ball. Terrible form. Disgusting form. She runs in for the layup and completely slips, falls on the ground. Like I said, no badges. But she goes ahead and gives the ball to Sakuragi so he could go ahead and do it. She's saying that she's not the greatest at basketball, so she's not going to even try and play for the high school team, but she still loves to watch it. Her big brother, who plays on the team, has been playing since he was small, and she's been watching him ever since. Then she asks Sakuragi if he knows what a dunk is. Sakuragi has no clue, and she explains that a dunk is the best part of basketball. It's the most exciting play that never fails to get the crowd going. She says that back in middle school, when her big brother would go ahead and do a dunk, both fans of his team and the other team would go wild. It's her favorite part of the sport, as she just recalls how amazing it is. She also says that Rukawa's dunks were pretty amazing too. Before Sakuragi could even figure out who Rukawa was, Haruko's impressed by Sakuragi palming the ball. He didn't even know that was impressive, but it's being a show off now that he knows that he could do it. And as Haruko's putting the pieces together, she's asking him if he can dunk. He's like, but shit, I am an athlete, so he's dying on this hill of being an athlete, and hearing this, Haruko is excited to see it. She runs up to the basket and is telling him to go ahead and do a dunk for her. He can tell how much Haruko loves basketball and knows that this is the best way to get close to her. So he locks in for a second, realizing that all he's gotta do is run up there and do a dunk. He's confident that he could do it. He's got all the tools to. So my mans makes his move. He starts sprinting towards the basket, ball in one hand, full sprinting formation with the other. He's not doing no type of dribbling. He don't even know that that's a part of the rules, but he plants his foot, calling out his ultimate dunk. But as he jumps in the air, this man hits his head on the backboard. He falls straight to the ground, not doing no type of dunk or whatever, but still, Haruko is impressed. I can't even blame her, bruh, cause think about it. This man Sakuragi is about 6'2". In order to hit your head on the backboard with some leeway at that, not even the tip of his head hitting the bottom of the backboard, but his head was like at least a foot above the backboard. Just doing some simple math, this man has to have like a 60-inch vertical, bruh. This man's shoulder was above the rim. That is actually insane. But she's hyped at what she just saw. She just found a 99 potential diamond in the rough, saying that he has to join the basketball team. His potential is insane. Fast forward a little bit and we get to see this dude just walking in the hallway, and Sakuragi's friends is just looking at this dude walk by. He's mad tall, maybe even taller than Sakuragi himself, and as he's walking by, not saying a word, these girls are looking on at him, blushing, getting nervous, as his friends just realize that this guy rubs them the wrong way. But anyways, we fast forward to seeing Sakuragi getting patched up after his little incident with the backboard. Haruko ends up pulling up to the classroom, coming in to check up on him and see if he's alright, and of course, seeing her, he's up in the air, jumping for joy. He's doing just fine. She ends up telling him that he should apply to join the basketball team, but her big brother says you're not gonna get in unless you have guts. But she thinks Sakuragi is gonna do just fine. Of course, at this point, Sakuragi is willing to do anything for Haruko, so he's gonna join and try and get on the basketball team by any means. After she makes her leave, Sakuragi is of course ecstatic after seemingly another successful interaction with his newfound love of his life. But this is when one of his boys gotta bring him back down to reality a little bit. He's talking to him like, you know, before you get your hopes up, you gotta consider the possibility of getting turned down, getting rejected, like how it went all throughout middle school. He's pointing out how Haruko's cute and all, and how she's got a nice personality, as Sakuragi is agreeing with him. But his boy is asking, what if she's already got a boyfriend? Girls of her archetype are always snatched up real quickly. They always the type to have a man by their side. And just hearing this, Sakuragi is in straight despair. His other friends pop up out the cut like, yup, she's gotta have a boyfriend. I mean, it only makes sense. It's probably that Rukawa guy that she keeps talking about. And this is when Sakuragi starts putting two and two together. She was comparing him to Rukawa's height. She was comparing his dunk attempt to Rukawa's dunks. He's always being brought up in these situations. He's of course overreacting, starting to hate Rukawa instantly. But before he does anything too hasty, his friend tells him to just go ahead and check with the source. He's got to ask her if she's single. But before we get to see their interaction, we get to see Haruko talking to one of her friends in her own class. Apparently, her friend has heard these terrible stories about people from Sakuragi's middle school, with especially one kid with red hair stood out above them all. He's notorious for being a delinquent, notorious for being bad, and just overall a real scary guy. She doesn't know how Haruko can approach him and talk to him so easily, but deep in her heart, she knows that Sakuragi is a nice guy. Just within the short amount of conversations that they've had, she says that she's never met somebody who's so easy to talk to. Fast forward a little bit and we get to see her reaction to Sakuragi asking her about Rukawa. She's instantly flustered just hearing his name, and Sakuragi's nervous himself, asking if that's her boyfriend. His friends is listening in off to the side behind this bush and can just tell by that reaction, her and Rukawa definitely got something going on, but she actually shrugs it off completely, saying that Rukawa doesn't even know who she is. The only reason that she knows about Rukawa is back from middle school. He played on his middle school's basketball team, and she used to watch her middle school basketball team's practices a lot. They were close by, so they had ended up scrimmaging against each other a lot, and just seeing Rukawa play completely amazed her. She was talking about this man like he might just be the GOAT when it comes to basketball. He was over there getting triple teamed, multiple defenders on top of him, but still nobody could get a stop. He's getting dunks after dunks after dunks, and pretty much single-handedly defeated her school's team in every single practice. This man was dropping 50 bombs, more than her entire team combined in one single game. In a practice game at that. That's just ridiculous. She says that the more and more she watched him play, the more stronger that she felt for him, but her feelings are completely one-sided. Now obviously, Sakuragi feels some type of way about that, and even his friends listening out to the side were shocked about this. Haruko's embarrassed that she's even talking about it. She's all nervous, blushing, squirming around, woo woo woo, but when she looks up to see his reaction, he's gone. We get a view over of everybody in the bathroom, and his boys are just having a blast. They're making fun of him, celebrating his first high school rejection. Remember, this is a recurring theme out through middle school. This happened like 50, 60 times, so this is the first, and they just all having a blast. Sakuragi just glares at him with tears in his eyes, and at this point, they're expecting his signature headbutt, but he just walks off. His boys are realizing that this rejection may have just hit different than the others. Normally, he responds by being all upset and angry and hitting them with headbutts whenever they're poking fun at him, but now all he feels is sadness. The next thing we see is later in class, and Sakuragi's just sitting there with his head down. He's obviously still upset about what happened earlier, but all of a sudden, the upperclassmen from earlier rush through the door. They're calling out Sakuragi, telling him to come to the roof after class, and he better not wuss out of it. He finally picks his head up off the desk and stares him down. He don't know who they're trying to call a wuss, but it's sure not him. He completely snaps, getting all angry, while his friends is trying to hold him back. We get some more back and forth between one of Sakuragi's friends and some of the other upperclassmen. They're having their beef between multiple members, not just between Sakuragi, but before things get too hostile, the teacher finally steps up and says, if y'all continue this, y'all are suspended. Finally, that was enough to make him back down, so the upperclassmen just leave. They head straight up to the roof, I'm assuming away from Sakuragi, but they see this kid sleeping there on the floor. One of the grunts kick him while he's there on the ground like, what is you doing up here, bro? Get lost. But dude just stands up saying, I don't know what your problem is, but I don't like being woken up. As this man stands up straight, they're realizing how ridiculously tall this man is, as with no questions asked, he kicks this dude straight in the gut for waking him up in the middle of his nap. As dude starts to try and press him, he introduces himself as one of the new freshmen this year. His name is Rukawa. Back inside the building, Sakuragi and his boy are on their way to follow up on their little exchange from earlier. They're on their way to meet up with the upperclassmen and accept a challenge to whatever they got going on. I don't even know. They end up linking with the rest of their friend group, and they're on go too. So everybody ends up running up to the roof ready for a fight, but as they open the door, they just see Rukawa standing around a bunch of bodies. And I'm not gonna lie, Bro did them in the worst way possible. But luckily for them, nobody's up there to really see it. But if it got done like this and word got out, let alone evidence of this getting out, you couldn't never show your face around that school ever again. At least I wouldn't. But anyways, Rukawa looks back and Sakuragi approaches him. They're trying to figure out who this is, and as he introduces himself as Rukawa, Sakuragi can't believe it. This is the guy who Haruko's got a crush on, the guy that she's choosing over him. He's checking him out for a second and gradually is getting more and more heated, thinking about the entire situation. And as his boys are realizing that Sakuragi's getting upset, they point out that once he gets mad, things get ugly. Downstairs in Sakuragi's classroom, Haruko's actually there. She's over here looking for him. She wanted to talk to him after their last interaction. He had pretty much disappeared out of nowhere, and by a stroke of luck, she just happens to check outside the window and she's got a perfect view of him and his friends and Rukawa up on the roof. At first, he's worried about what kind of stuff Sakuragi might be revealing to him, since she just confessed to Sakuragi that she had a crush on Rukawa, but she sees Sakuragi grab Rukawa by the collar of his shirt. Seeing this, she instantly starts making her way over there. She's getting flashbacks of what her friend had told her about Sakuragi in middle school, about how he was notoriously bad and always causing trouble. So she's increasingly becoming more and more worried about the situation. Sakuragi's up on the roof, pretty much pressing Rukawa for no apparent reason, but this dude's not taking Sakuragi seriously at all. And this is making him even more mad than what he was before. But before things escalate even further, Haruko pops up. But she just sees Rukawa bleeding from his temple, and putting all of this information together from at least what she knows. She sees Rukawa bleeding. She saw from the window downstairs that Sakuragi was grabbing Rukawa by the collar, and she starts going on this tangent about how, despite the rumors about him, she thought Sakuragi was different. She thought that he was a kind soul, somebody who she could actually see herself being close with, but she never thought that he would do something like this. She calls Sakuragi a lowlife and says that she doesn't want anything to do with him. Sakuragi can't believe what he's hearing right now. He starts going through it immediately. He just took 2 crazy blows from his crush, this girl who he's practically in love with. And while his friends are on the side trying to clear up the situation and explain to Haruko what was happening, she's not trying to listen. She instantly runs up on Rukawa, checking if he's okay, suggesting to him that he needs to go to the hospital in order to get his wound disinfected and properly checked. But he's like, I'm good. I don't even know why you all up on me. Who the fuck even are you? Haruko's not only shocked, but embarrassed too. And regardless of what she had just said about my man Sakuragi, he gets up and instantly starts defending her. He punches this man with a right and starts spamming back to back to back headbutts on this dude. This is actually hilarious watching in real time, because you know this man is in pain too, bruh. How does your signature move, your #1 animation, have recoil damage, bruh? That's tough. But he's continuously spamming headbutts and Haruko screaming at him to stop, but he keeps on going. By the end of his initial little rush, Rukawa's bleeding like crazy, but he just shrugs it off, getting his lick back on Sakuragi, returning with a punch of his own. And just from this one punch, Sakuragi is already getting dizzy, and they just face off for a second while tensions are just building higher and higher. But Haruko interrupts, saying that he should really go to the hospital, but he shrugs her off once again. He just walks off, hand in pocket, or trying to look cool, but Haruko just looks back at Sakuragi, calling him horrible, saying that she hates him, and just runs back into the school. Of course, he's taking the news horribly, and he's ready to end it all at this point, but his friends is holding him back. They're sure that with time, she'll eventually find out the truth. He's just gotta thug through it for a little bit. Though, throughout this entire interaction, all that his one friend could think about is that Rukawa took one of Sakuragi's full strength punches and walked away seemingly unscathed. Rukawa was the first person that he's ever seen do that. We fast forward a little bit, maybe a day or two, I don't even know. But we fast forward to seeing Haruko talking to a couple of her friends. Turns out one of Sakuragi's boys did end up catching up with her and explained that Sakuragi wasn't the one who had hurt Rukawa. I mean, obviously after they got into their duel, she seen that, but starting off, when they got there, Rukawa was already injured. And ever since she realized that, she's feeling bad because she said all these horrible things to him. But not after long, she decides to quit moping and locks in that all she's got to do is go up and apologize to him. Just be honest with him. We fast forward to the end of that day. We get a view of Sakuragi after class, and he's moping around, going through it. Just the usual routine for him at this point. He can't catch a break. He's had a hell of a first week of school up to this point. Nothing but constant ups and downs, ending on his lowest point so far. But to make things even worse, as he's on his way home, my man gets hit in the face with a basketball of all things. Now, you know how this man feels about basketball, so getting hit in the face with one, he starts going crazy on them. They're trying to apologize the best they can, but he's not listening. Even his friends try and butt in, but once Sakuragi gets going, it's no stopping him. He's going on about how much he hates basketball, how trash it is, how it's his least favorite sport. But then this dude starts walking up to him. He grabs Sakuragi by the collar of his shirt and swings him around into the ground. Enter a man even taller than Sakuragi. This dude is the captain of the basketball team. Before dealing with Sakuragi, he's lecturing the two kids who were goofing around in the first place. They're on the basketball team too, so they're teammates. The captain is telling them they gotta get to practice. They're already missing out, they're late. Then he switches over to Sakuragi, and as they're making eye contact, this man shoves the basketball in the captain's face. Sakuragi is trying to go after him too, saying that he must think he's so cool and all that because he's on the basketball team. And once again, it's going on about how much he hates basketball. At this point, we know one thing about Sakuragi: you don't mention basketball around him. And if we were to only know one thing about the captain, you don't trash talk basketball around him. He starts looking down on Sakuragi with this crazy ass look on his face, veins popping out his forehead, blood coming from his nose, pupils in two different sizes. It's crazy. He starts going after Sakuragi, but his teammates are trying to hold him back as much as possible. But before we get to see the conclusion of their interaction, we actually fast forward to seeing some students sprinting towards a different location. Sakuragi and the captain aren't gonna settle their dispute in a fight, but instead on the court. The captain sets the rules so that if Sakuragi is able to get even 1 point on him, then he wins. He's saying that surely somebody who thinks basketball is so weak and so trash shouldn't have a problem getting one little bucket, but Sakuragi's not invested at all. He's just looking up with tears in his eyes, reminiscing about earlier this week when he was just over here talking with Haruko. Cap's got no idea what's going on with bro. But finally, Sakuragi realizes where he's at. He gains a little consciousness and locks back in, saying that he's ready for the match. But before they get a chance to get into it, we get a view in a couple different places around the school where word about the match between Sakuragi and the captain is going around. Turns out both Rukawa and Haruko catch wind of this and respectively begin making their way there. Back in the gym, Cap's just sitting there, dribbling the ball right in front of Sakuragi's face, but no matter how hard he's trying to get it, he can't get the steal. Bro's talking crazy, taunting him because he can't even get a steal, which is making him want to lock in even more. He knows that the captain's obviously got way more talent than him when it comes to basketball. And all of that talent is backed by an insanely high amount of hours in the gym practicing. So instead of trying to approach this in terms of basketball, Sakuragi's looking at this more like a hunt, like he's a hawk trying to swoop in on his prey. After observing the captain's dribbling real closely, Sakuragi finally spots his opening and kicks the ball away from the captain. Everybody starts laughing at him because he doesn't even know that you're not allowed to kick the ball. But as we get to see the captain again, he still has the ball in his hands. Even using his illegal methods, Sakuragi wasn't able to get the ball away from the captain. He held control this entire time. They start chirping at each other back and forth, and we just end up skipping forward to seeing the captain sprint past Sakuragi and jump into the air, slamming that bitch in with both hands. As we see reactions from the crowd, we get to hear that the score is already 7-0. And this is when Haruko finally makes her entrance. Sakuragi's friends are off to the side saying what's up, telling her that he's up against this gorilla, which is the captain and Sakuragi's main insult for him. But the gorilla, quote unquote, is killing Sakuragi out there on the court. She's like, gorilla? That gorilla up there is my big brother. And of course, everybody's shocked, and Haruko's brother just goes up and dunks once again. The score is 8-0, and he's asking Sakuragi if he still thinks this is a lame sport, a sport for little girls. He don't ever want to hear any type of basketball disrespect ever again. We then get a little bit of backstory from Haruko about her brother, saying that normally he's really a kind person, but when it comes to basketball, he becomes this different animal. He's been playing basketball for practically all of his life, and honestly, basketball is his life. On the court, he's embarrassing Sakuragi as he runs past him for another easy drive, but this time, Sakuragi's not giving up on the play so easily. He's just thinking about how nasty all these basketball players are. He's only had negative experiences with them, first being Rukawa, then being the two kids who threw the ball in his face, and then finally this dude. He sprints back up to catch up with the captain and is able to close the gap, but Cap knows you can't play defense only with speed. Sakuragi's screaming that he's gonna get this ball, but before he's actually able to get up there and make a move, he trips. And with nothing else to break his fall, he extends his arm out, grabbing onto the cap before he hits the ground. And while they both end up falling, this man, the captain, has his whole ass out, bruh. I don't know what's up with them, but they can't give these upperclassmen a break. They be doing them terrible. I thought it was just the bums, the little grunts off to the side, but my mans is out here getting exposed too. Of course, everybody's dying laughing, and Sakuragi's genuinely trying to apologize. This wasn't some sort of scheme on his end. It was an honest accident, but the captain's even more mad. His teammates are trying to calm him down, but just like with Sakuragi, once he gets going, nobody's stopping him. Haruko's asking around if somebody could call off the match. She doesn't want this head-to-head going on because her brother and Sakuragi were supposed to be teammates. We get a flashback to a night in the Akagi household, which is where Haruko and her brother live. This is after they had their little basketball gym session, but before she has seen Sakuragi go ahead and fight Rukawa, and she's just telling her brother how amazing Sakuragi is. He's like 6'2", 6'3" maybe, with amazing athletic potential. And even though he's a complete noob when it comes to basketball, he don't got no badges, no attributes, nothing, she's sure that he's got the guts to stick through and really learn it. He could honestly make a serious difference on the high school team. Her brother's just been there working out in the room, listening to her talk about Sakuragi, and once she's done, he's saying that on top of getting Rukawa, Sakuragi's addition to the team might just be able to push them to that next level this year. It might push them to achieving his dream of becoming the national champions. He was excited to meet this Sakuragi and see if he really has what it takes, but we just cut back to them arguing back and forth. He's got no clue that this is the guy that Haruko was talking about last night, since this whole interaction was off of the spur of a moment incident back outside the school. It somehow escalated to this point. But he ends up driving again, scoring for his 9th point to Sakuragi 0. He's calling Sakuragi a bum. Doodle shirt, gray pants, no badges, woo woo. He's just talking crazy. Sakuragi's trying his best to lock in, realizing that he's only got one more chance to get a stop. The captain only needs one more shot before he wins. But hearing everybody talk about him, saying that he doesn't stand a chance, the captain's just too good, and it never really was a fair match in the first place, it seems as if Sakuragi's beginning to lose faith. But out the crowd, a single voice calls his name. He looks over, seeing Haruko, and just for a moment, it's as if it's only them two in the entire gym. He's tearing up, coming to the conclusion that she must have been cheering him on this entire time, and he just never heard her. And with Haruko being here, he suddenly got this newfound motivation, this new fire in his heart to go for the win. He's not just playing for himself anymore, he's playing for the two of them. Instead of focusing on trying to steal the ball from the captain, which requires much more timing and skill, he decides to just focus on regular defense, staying in between him and the basket, trying to make it as difficult as possible for the captain to score. So as he rushes in, he naturally is able to make some opening in the defense, beginning to go up for a shot, but thanks to Sakuragi's freakish athletic abilities, he's able to smother the lane, getting in the way. And just by being everywhere, having his hands everywhere, moving crazy fast, he's actually able to knock the ball out of the captain's hands, forcing a loose ball situation. Sakuragi doesn't have much finesse when it comes to basketball, but one thing that he does have is heart. Just look at how my man is diving towards the ball over the captain's shoulder, and after they both crash to the ground, Sakuragi is the one who ends up with the ball. The crowd's starting to turn up because it's finally his turn to do some offense. The complete opposite of what's been going on all game. He was just getting bullied on defense, but now they get to see him do something. He sees Haruko cheering for him in the crowd and is in complete bliss, realizing that she doesn't hate him after all. He's finally back to his normal self, full of energy. He's just going crazy. But once again, he starts dribbling without the ball, bruh. That was the last thing that everybody expected, but of all people, the captain says it doesn't matter. He's saying that regardless of what Sakuragi does and however he tries to do it, the captain's not gonna let him score. He's been battling on the court since he was a youngin', and he'd be damned if he lets some newcomer take a dub out of his hands. So Sakuragi's trying his best to get around him. Mind you, no dribbles, just straight running side to side, traveling like crazy. But the captain's defense is just too good. He's too quick and too sturdy to let Sakuragi get by. Some members of the basketball team are giving a little bit more info on the captain, and we get a quick little flashback to his tryout during his freshman year. Even in his first year, he was a 6'4" center, and his defense stole the show of the entire tryout, and ever since then, he's been consistently a defensive presence, a defensive monster, if you will. But Sakuragi's getting frustrated that he can't get past him, and on top of that, people in the crowd are beginning to heckle. They're saying that he lost all his fire, he's not trying hard enough, he don't got no courage, knowing damn well that if they was on the court, they wouldn't be doing no better. But since Sakuragi can't get past the captain to try and score, he comes up with a new plan. My man shoot the ball, but the captain shuts that right down instantly. He swats his shot away with ease, and everybody's amazed at this block, which they all call the fly swatter. Sakuragi at this point is low-key stressing because his plan had completely backfired, and even in the crowd, Haruko's saying that her brother's going a little bit too rough on Sakuragi. You know he's just a beginner, but his boy says that maybe it's because he can see some type of potential in Sakuragi. He's got something deep within him that might prove to actually be a weapon. Sakuragi locks back in. He got the rebound off the block, so he still has the ball. He's focusing on his breathing and begins to zone everybody else out. Right now, it's just him and his opponent. After a few minutes of Sakuragi being locked in, he launches the ball right past the captain's head and quickly sprints around him. The captain was surprised, but only for a moment, as he starts chasing Sakuragi down. In the crowd, nobody knows what's going on except for Rukawa, who's been silently watching this entire match go down. Sakuragi leaps into the air, reaching for the ball, and everybody finally sees the vision. He didn't throw the ball past the captain's shoulder as some type of shot, but as a pass back to himself, more specifically an alley-oop. The ball bounces off of the backboard, but suddenly the captain snatches it out the air before Sakuragi could get to it. It seems as if his plan failed once again, but remembering Haruko and her passion for a dunk, he locks back in and snatches the ball back from the captain. All of this in a split second because they're still midair, but he snatches the ball back and uses all of his strength to dunk the ball right on top of the team captain, sending him crashing to the ground. The crowd erupts in praise for what they just saw, and Sakuragi instantly starts running towards Haruko. He's wondering if she saw his amazing dunk that he just did. He's saying that he used her technique that she had taught him in order to take down that gorilla back there. She's trying to apologize for what she had said to him before, but he's not tripping. He's already recovered from all that. He's just hyped about his performance just now and the fact that he was able to look so cool in front of Haruko. He's continuing to talk trash, calling the team captain an evil gorilla, and even saying that he rounded up a bunch of other gorillas from the zoo to form some type of team. He calls himself the captain and likes to boss people around, but Sakuragi was able to take him down. But suddenly, the captain starts walking towards him. He's standing over Sakuragi's shoulder as he's just going on about him and just takes his man down in one smooth punch. Sakuragi's trying to figure out what the problem is because he just won fair and square. But the captain's just talking down to Haruko, wondering if this is the guy that she was telling him about. This whole time, Sakuragi's telling him to leave, get out of here, he don't belong here, don't show his face around Haruko, that's his girl, woo woo woo. But she just responds to him, yeah, big bro, this is exactly what I was talking about. And hearing those two words, big bro, this man Sakuragi is at a loss for words. He can't fathom that this man who he was just going to war with out there on the court and talking crazy about right to her face is actually her big brother. And as he calls Sakuragi's name, he's completely shook. He doesn't know what to think, and he doesn't know what the captain's gonna say for talking to his sister, for disrespecting him as a man and everything that he's done up to this point. But the captain just says, Sakuragi, I lost fair and square. Good game. Sakuragi just looks back up with tears in his eyes like, good game, big bro. And he's just getting on his head, telling him that just because he said good game, don't call him big bro. I ain't your bro. Sakuragi's trying to fix up his impression as quick as possible, as best as possible, but things not looking too hot for him, as the last thing that we get to see is a view of Rukawa leaving the gym. As he's thinking about Sakuragi's performance in there, he says that he ain't do half bad. And there's the introduction for Slam Dunk. If y'all enjoyed this one, go ahead and let me know. I am looking for new series to start because Berserk is going to be finishing up soon. I don't want to keep making videos on just a bunch of different stuff and not really getting into these series. So y'all make sure to let me know. I'm going to see y'all in the next one. We out.